if you don't have Dickerson, against, a very good Jacksonville defense, that could leave a mark, no doubt. I mean, you could struggle a little bit at that position if Dickerson's not there. So,
for their practice, the Jaguars are going to treat it like a normal week. And that's, kind of the wrinkle or the variable in this week's game plan. And so, like we do each and every week, we try to dial up Cafe Kracz here on the Football Playbook and get his opinion. He joins us here on the Football Playbook, and pour me another shot of espresso there at the Cafe Kracz. Ed, good morning. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. Good. I'm all out of the espresso, but I'll get you another, whip you some up as soon as you get over here.
All right. Well, listen, I was listening to the pressers yesterday. We'll start off with the Jalen Hurts. I think you were had one of the first questions, actually, that you fired off there, asking him about Doug Peterson. And he mentioned how he was so grateful for the opportunity, had nothing but mutual respect. And just listening to Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, even Ric Serritella, who doesn't even know Doug Peterson, nothing but respect and kudos. What was your takeaway from the players yesterday in the locker room? And then I have a follow-up.
Well, listen, Doug was a player's coach through and through, right? Players really loved him, wanted to play for him. But it was interesting. Some said that Brandon Graham said this. He said that, he thinks Ric Sirianni is a little better in actually talking to the players. And that's one of Nic's core principles, of course, is the connection that he makes with his players, his coaches, and vice versa. So he said he actually talks to the players and asks like what they want to do and how they want to, what kind of plays they're interested in running, which is something, Doug didn't really do, I guess. But both guys are players, coaches. They're both offensive-minded coaches. It's interesting when you hear Jalen Hurts' answer about him being grateful to Doug and, Doug and him having kind of this mutual love and respect with each other. Because we really don't know how that final month of that season played out in 2017. We know Carson Wentz was there and he was pouting and he wasn't happy and he wasn't really interacting with the quarterbacks. And I'm not sure, and I'll never find anybody probably to admit this, how much coaching Doug was giving Jalen Hurts in that final those final 4 games. Yeah, he was getting him ready, but he was also managing Carson Wentz and his, lack of involvement and trying to patronize Carson and try to keep him happy. So I'm not sure Doug was fully 100% invested in Jalen Hurts over that final 4 weeks of the season that Hurts started. But, it was good to hear him say that he respects Doug. But, Jalen doesn't really pour a lot of love and, doesn't say a whole lot about different players when he's asked or, teammates or coaches. He's very short and clipped with his answers. So it's hard to get a read on exactly what went on with him and Doug in that final month. But the players overall, Rick, they love Doug and they're looking forward to seeing Doug. And they all think that he should get a standing ovation, which I think he will as well. When you win a Super Bowl for the first time in a city, that never goes away. So, I think the players are really looking forward to seeing him. They admit it's weird seeing him on another sideline, but, and they also understand that they have to go out and compete against Doug Peterson. They know he's coming in here to try to win. And, Doug's going to try to come in here and put everything he has into winning this game. So the Eagles know they have to be ready.
Yeah, a lot to take away there. That Jalen Hurts, he's a media savvy guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's hard to rattle.
Yeah,
both in the pocket and in the press room, he's hard to shake.
Yeah,
very elusive. But he did say somebody asked a follow up in terms of what was Doug Peterson's parting shot, and he basically said, hey, I believe in you. I see something special in you, and I want you to keep going. And again, we don't know how much of that is just, Hurts playing it up to the media to just kind of deflect it, because Doug Peterson has been an often hot topic every day. All the players, the coaches, they've all been asked. We had Ashlyn Sullivan from Jaguars.com. They said, he got questioned about it on Monday. Not really much after that. The one interesting thing I thought is he has yet to see the statue of himself in person outside of the building. And he says he doesn't plan on seeing it anytime soon. So I guess he won't be making a pit stop. to check out the statue. I know our friend Austin Lane had posted something that the Jaguars are coming up to steal the Dougie P statue and bring it back to Jacksonville with them. But even Brandon Graham acknowledged, because I guess he had something for Carson Wentz pregame last week, and he said, "Oh, I'll have something for Dougie P this week too. I'll be messing with them pregame." But he said, "I can already tell just by looking at the players that they already love and respect playing for Doug Peterson."
Yeah, well, Brandon Graham's the noted trash talker on this team, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is the same. He likes to talk his share of smack too. But Chauncey wasn't here, obviously, when Doug was. So, I don't know how much trash he's going to talk. But, Graham will. Graham will definitely have something to say. But yeah, the statue thing, I took a little field trip over there yesterday, Rick, from the Eagles facility, and took some pictures, and it's still there. And, it's bigger than I remember when it first debuted. I stood next to it, and it was higher than I thought. So good luck to whoever wants to try to lift that and steal that thing out of there. They're not going to have any luck. And, if I'm the Jaguars, I'm worried about making my own statue. I'm not stealing a statue from someone else that won a Super Bowl. I mean, it's him and Nick Foles out there with the script in hand for the Philly play that they ran in the Super Bowl. I don't think that would look too good outside the Jaguars stadium. They need to get their own. But, Doug has this team on the right track, Rick. I mean, I think this is a good young team, plenty of young talent, which they should have. I mean, they've drafted in the first overall the last 2 years. They pick in the top 5, it seems, every year for the last decade, which means they're also picking early in the second round, third round, and so on. So, yeah, they should have some good young talent. And now Doug is a mature head coach with a good staff. He should be getting these guys to play well together.
Yeah, there's 2 statues you don't mess with in the city of Philadelphia: the Christopher Colombo statue and the Doug Peterson statue. Right? So
That's right. Mess with them at your own risk.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you about this Tiger Woods video that Ric Serritella showed the team, because last week it was a Kobe Bryant video. This week it's a Tiger Woods video. And Sirianni keeps talking about it's a 17-round heavyweight bout. And it seems like he's using motivational videos each week as just another tool to motivate the team. And I know this week's message was, essentially like a video of Tiger Woods at the top of his game and just being obsessed with getting better. I heard Jalen in his press conference, he said, there's no arrival, only a journey. In other words, he's just going to continue to seek getting better and seek out that progress. And it's funny because Hurts didn't even recall the Tiger Woods video with somebody else. Was that you that asked him?
I asked so many questions yesterday. I don't think that was mine. But yeah, it obviously it didn't really hit home for him. If he couldn't recall it. He said, "Oh, it's been a long day," but got to remember it. I mean, if it hit home, man, you'd remember that, right? But he couldn't recall it. So, listen, not every player is going to get the same message out of these videos that Nick likes to show. And he does it a lot, Rick. That. I mean, he did this last year. He showed all these motivational videos, and he's doing it this year. So, it resonates differently with different people. But for Jalen, I would say it didn't resonate at all. And he's good at those T-shirt slogans, like you mentioned, the one, like the Rents do, and threw out another one yesterday. He knows, I'm not chasing perfection, I'm chasing progress. I mean, I could see that on the back of a T-shirt somewhere. So, he's good at those. He's good at those T-shirt slogans. Very clipped and guarded in his other answers, but he likes getting those, quick one-liners out there that you can slap on the back of a T-shirt.
I'm telling you, there is no arrival, only a journey.
There you go.
That's good stuff. I'm going to use that, Ed. I'm going to use that. I got to.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, come on. It's gold.
It's solid stuff from Jalen Hurts. All right. By the way, our good friend Andrew Brandt over at SI.com, I saw, did another write-up on Jalen Hurts, just talking about being the biggest bargain in the NFL at $1 million. I mean, let me just ask you, we'll get off Jalen Hurts, but let me just ask you, I mean, it's just a matter of, when, not if, they give him an extension this offseason, correct? Or we're still.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, listen, they can't give him a new deal during the season because, the CBA prohibits players until after their 3 years in the league from getting contract extensions. So at the conclusion of this season, this will be the end of his 3rd season. So,
I think February they're able to
Yeah,
have
well,
that.
they can have the discussions and whatnot whenever. I don't think you're prohibited from doing that. So they could have discussions now. Hey, what does the deal look like for you? And Hertz's camp could shut it down and say, let's just wait and see how the season plays out. We don't really. I'm sure Jalen's not involved with him, but his agents probably are. But yeah, I could see the new league year starts in March, and I think that's when you could announce officially a new deal. Now, that doesn't mean something won't leak out in January and February, whenever this season ends, about a new deal that's coming forward. But they can't really announce it, I don't think, until the new league year, which is typically in the middle of March. But I would fully expect, that he would, get another contract extension. And yeah, he's a bargain, but he's a rookie. So, he's not a rookie, but he's still on his rookie deal, I
Rookie
should
deal,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, so he is a bargain, and he was the NFC's Offensive Player of the Month for September. And when you think about it, who would have said that would happen when you left Tampa Bay last year after that playoff loss, with the Bucs saying he can't read defenses and kind of belittling Hurts' ability to play the position? Now here we are, first month of the next season, and he's the Offensive Player of the Month in the NFC. That's a huge step in the right direction. Now, the trick is, keep doing it, stay consistent with it. Don't fall on your face. Don't have one of those clunker games like he had last year in New York against the Giants, where he threw 3 picks to the Giants and lost 13-7. They can only put up the 1 touchdown, but I don't think he'll do that. I think the addition of AJ Brown has helped him so much. And the second year of Devonta Smith and him together, that has really taken a step forward as well. So, I don't think he's going to play, this 123 passer rating type game every week, but I don't think he's going to have a stinker like he did in New York either. I think he's going to keep getting better, and he's going to be consistent this year. And that'll lead to a contract extension in March.
No, I agree. And, they would probably want to get it done before the free agent frenzy, which is also in March, to kind of understand what their cap situation is. And I think, really, quite frankly, I think he's going to play solid. Yeah, I don't think he'll have clunker games. I think, you're bound to have 2 or 3 bad games during the regular season. The playoff loss to the Bucs, now looks like a great luxury, because nobody expected the Eagles to be there. But you gotta taste that growing pains sometimes. And I think the fact that he was in that situation, he's the kind of guy that's going to hold on to that pain and use it as momentum and build off of that. So because he got a little taste last year, I like his chances in the playoffs this year. We're talking to Ed Kracz, Eagles Today, SI.com. Let me ask you about some of the Eagles who were absent or spectators at practice yesterday, Ed, and tell me what you've heard. I'll take them one at a time. AJ Brown was excused from practice. I know he's expecting the birth of his second child. Is that what the situation was there?
Yeah, that's the situation. He wants to be there for the birth of his child, and sure, why not? That's a big moment. Any of us have had kids, how important that moment is. So,
sure.
Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be there Sunday.
Okay, Landon Dickerson has a foot. He did not practice yesterday. Is that a serious deal?
It's a bigger concern, no doubt. We saw him kind of in and out against Washington. He played, I think, 59 of the 70 snaps. The other 11 were handled by Sua Opeta. But, man, that's a huge drop-off, Rick, from Dickerson, a second-round pick, to Opeta, an undrafted free agent, as you would expect it to be a big drop-off. But, if you don't have Dickerson, against, a very good Jacksonville defense, that could leave a mark, no doubt. I mean, you could struggle a little bit at that position if Dickerson's not there. So something to keep an eye on with his foot. We'll see. Obviously, it bothered him enough to come in and out of the game against Washington. Now, people want to say, hey, Opeta was on the field for that safety that the Commanders had against Boston Scott. But that pressure came from the edge right by Dallas Goedert, an inside line from Daron Payne, and he hit Scott in the end zone. That wasn't Opeta's fault on that play, but he's still not what you would hope he would be after being in this system for the last couple of seasons. I like Josh Sills a lot, the undrafted free agent kid, but I'm not sure they would put him in there at this stage of the game. Yeah. No, probably not ready. So if Dickerson can't go, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But again, it's early in the week. It's only Thursday. Got a couple more days to get that foot right. Take a few, whatever they give you, a couple injections of whatever it is they're shooting into your pain area to get better. So I expect Dickerson to play at this point. Will he play all 100% of the snaps? I don't know. I don't know that for sure. He couldn't do it last week in Washington. I don't know if he'd be able to do it this week against the Jags.
Yeah, I noticed that was the first week through the first 3 games that the offensive line unit didn't all play 100% of the snaps. So we'll see how that situation plays out. Darius Slay is a guy. He's the only guy in the secondary who hasn't played 100% of the snaps, I believe, because Bradbury, Epps, CD Juice, they're all playing all the snaps. Darius Slay is around 79, 80%. I guess, is it the back issue? Is this thing bigger than what they're letting on here?
Well, he was out of practice on Wednesday, kind of just watching and, throwing the ball around a little bit, but he was with the position group and he was, I guess taking his so-called mental reps that these players like to talk about. So he was out there doing that. I expect him to play. Listen, he took, I think, a series off against Washington. Zach McPherson was in there to get treatment, probably on the back, but he was back out there. So unless that thing really stiffens up on him later in the week or, starts spasming, I expect him to be out there too. They're just taking it easy with these guys. Same way we saw during training camp, It's the same approach in the season. When a guy doesn't feel 100%, let's just sit him down, let him stand out there and take his mental reps. But, let's not push him to the point where he's not going to be available on Sunday. So I think Slay will play. Again, will he play 100% of the snaps? I don't know. You might need to take a little bit of a break for some treatment in game, but I think he'll be out there. I think he'll start on Sunday.
And I think McPherson deserves a little kudos and credit too, because this is the second week in a row now where he kind of got thrown into the fire. And, the preseason was a little shaky for him. We were saying, maybe we don't want this guy playing too many snaps, but he's actually held his own when he's in there.
He's done okay. And I thought even last year when he got kind of thrown in there when Slay had some issues, I thought he did okay. I mean, he's not at Slay's level or Bradbury's level. He's a second-year kid that is learning as he goes, a 4th-round pick, right? So, he's a work in progress. And as long as he doesn't, kill you out there, if he can do his job, maybe get some help, I think he'll be fine. So, I'm not too worried if Slay has to take some reps off with McPherson coming in for him. I think he does okay.
No, I agree. And then, I noticed Boston Scott's snap rate was down this past week. Yeah. He showed up on the injury report with a rib injury. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, you never know with the ribs, right? It could affect your breathing and, cause some pain, especially for a running back. If you get hit there, it's going to sting for a while. So, this could be a situation with him where maybe he doesn't play and they activate Trey Sermon. I mean, that's why Sermon's here. He came to the team late, but, he'll have been here almost a month now when Sunday hits. So, listen, I wouldn't mind seeing Trey Sermon. If you have to sit Scott down for a game to let that rib, heal to 100%, it'd be nice to see Sermon, see what he can do, see if he can be kind of that big back guy between the tackles. He's 6 foot, 6'1", 215, 218, somewhere around there. He's a big dude. Let's see what he can do. I listen, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, and I'm a big fan of Boston Scott. I wish he played more. Only played 7 snaps to Kenny Gainwell's 22 against Washington. I wish they'd give Boston more of a run. Maybe they're saving him for the Giants because he always has big games against the Giants. So, I think he's a very good player who could help this offense, but he just doesn't seem to get that opportunity. So if you have to sit him down and put Sermon in, I don't think it's any great shakes. I think the Eagles will just keep on humming along against Jacksonville if they have to make that switch at running back.
Yeah, and Sermon, I think, has been a healthy scratch here through the first 3 games. And maybe we will see him because I noticed 9 other guys limited. I know they've been resting a lot of the veterans, but Miles Sanders limited with a hip injury. I didn't know that one. Is that something?
Yeah, now? Here we go again with the Miles. Little nagging injuries happens every year with him, so you don't know how he's going to respond to this. You see him pop up on an injury report in the past, and he's missed a game because of it. So, yeah, it's something to monitor for sure. I mean, he hasn't stayed healthy since his rookie year. 12 games played last year, 12 games played the year before that. Now here we are after week 3, has something with the hip. So, yeah, that could be an issue. Now, I saw him in the locker room Wednesday, and he seemed to be okay. He was talking to some people. So, again, I think he'll be all right. But with him, you don't know. I mean, he's missed time with these little things that pop up midweek. So something to watch for sure. And if he can't go and Boston Scott can't go, then we're looking at, Kenny Gainwell and Trey Sermon. That's not enough. Now, Jalen Hurts can run the ball, but this is a good Jags defense. And, Peterson has familiarity with Hurts, obviously, having been with him his rookie year. He kind of knows some of his strengths and weaknesses. So you want your running back, you want your top dog back out there in Miles Sanders. So, you have to make sure he's healthy. And, I think he will be. I don't think there's a whole lot of concern about it, but with him, you don't know.
Ed Kracz, Eagles Today, SI.com. Let me ask you this, Ed. I posed this to one of our guests yesterday because it's not our old NFL. The trade deadline in the modern day NFL, especially with some of these younger GMs, there's a lot of moving and shaking. Rashard Penny from Seattle is a guy that's kind of been talked about on the trade block. Seattle's going nowhere fast. Penny, former first round pick, but they drafted Kenneth Walker III relatively high. I think Penny might be in his final deal. I'm not sure, but he's a bigger back, something the Eagles lack with these running back injuries. Is that something you would entertain? What would it take for you to pique your interest there for Rashard Penny?
Well, I mean, again, it depends on the health of Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. I mean, if you're going to be shorthanded at running back, I know Jason Huntley's still out there, but I don't think they're very enamored with him. He's not on the practice squad with them or anybody, I don't think. But sure, you could put Penny in there. You have this chip, Andre Dillard, who he does provide good depth for Jordan Mailata as a left tackle backup, but I've seen Brett Toth get healthier and healthier. We see him out there doing things, not with the team, but he's still overcoming that ACL injury he had last year. He's on the PUP list, which means he can be activated at any point after Sunday's game against the Jags. But I think he would probably become, your top left tackle backup option if you were to trade Andre Dillard. And I think the Eagles would be comfortable with that. I think they like Brett Toth a lot. Dillard would be the guy I think that you might want to try to move. He's in the last year of his contract. If Penny's in the last year of his, then it's kind of a pretty good, deal for both teams.
I like that offer. I might pull the trigger on that, Ed.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, maybe there's a better running back that they could get or someone else. Like everybody talked about Kareem Hunt, being available. But, listen, the Browns like that Chubb Hunt.
Might cost you a little bit more.
It probably would. And, they're in the hunt. The Seahawks won't be in the hunt. So, could they be looking at a left tackle? I know they have spent some draft picks on the offensive line this past year, but, could they be looking at someone like Dillard? If you get him, then you extend him. And he's from out that way, right? He went to the University of Washington. So, it would make sense on a lot of levels. So, so certainly something to keep an eye on, especially even if Miles' hip is okay this time around. Like, who's to say next week it won't be a knee or a hand or something? You know what I mean? Like, he's always had these little injuries that crop up through the course of the season. So you might be looking to add depth before the deadline there.
Fire up that article on Eagles Today. Let's get the rumor going, Ed.
Hey, I'll throw some credit your way, Rick. That's a good idea.
I know you got to get back to work. One last thing I want to bring attention to everybody, because I saw this as I was going off the air yesterday, and I didn't know the details of the situation. Obviously, it was talked about a lot at the facility yesterday, but this high school shooting, what a tragic situation. 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday on Petchin Street in Philadelphia, 5 gunmen pulled up to a football scrimmage. They shot 5 players, one of them killed. And I can't believe we haven't heard more about this. What were you able to hear? I know Brandon Graham spoke about it. Lane Johnson spoke about it. Jalen Hurts spoke about what a terrible situation this is. But I barely even heard a blip of it on the news.
Well, listen, I think we've become so numb to these shootings. There's just so many of them, in Philadelphia, across the country, that if you talked about every single one of them, your whole newscast would probably get bogged down. But I get it. It's a local one. It's Roxborough High School. My father went to Roxborough High School. I have a 92-year uncle that lives a couple blocks away from Roxborough High School, in Roxborough. So, that hit home for me a little bit as well. You have a 14-year-old boy who dies, just terrible. And, I thought Hurts, all the players that talked about it, I thought Hurts made a good point is, you're out there chasing your dream of playing football, of maybe hopefully keeping playing football, go to college, go into the pros, you're chasing this dream, and then it's interrupted by, just, a senseless act of violence. It just makes no sense. And it's really a sad situation. That what's going on across the country with, all these shootings and, especially here at Roxborough. So, yeah, the players, they campaigned on gun violence last year. Remember, they had the big, gun violence, end gun violence campaign that they had. And, what more can you do? I mean, as a team, as players, you can only talk and say so much, but you're not in a position to enact legislation to try to help make it better. You can only bring awareness to it. And, again, here we are talking about another shooting, and I just don't see any end to it. And it's really sad. You have to be careful out there. And, it's very sad, and it's just senseless to me.
Senseless is the word for it. And, extremely saddening. And I think it is important that we do talk about it and at least raise awareness. I don't know how much we can do to change this, Ed, but just a terrible, tragic situation. I hate to end it on a somber note. Before we let you go, are you allowed to give us a score prediction of this Philadelphia Eagles game, or are you saving that for the website?
Well, I reserve the right to change my mind, but up until Monday, I can change my mind, right? After the game, when hindsight's 2020. No, I think the Eagles will find a way to win this game. I know that, the Jags are a young team. This is going to be a tough environment for them to come into. I know they went out to Los Angeles last week and, walloped the Chargers. But, LA's crowd is not Philadelphia's crowd. And, I think that this young team could be in for a little bit of an eye-opener with this crowd. I think some of the distractions that have hit them this week with the hurricane, and making sure their families are safe, etc. And I just think the Eagles are kind of on a little bit of a roll now. And, I think they're going to keep that going. I think they'll be able to put up some points on this defense. Trevor Lawrence, I think they're going to try to confuse him with some looks. He's playing well, but, I know he likes to get the ball out quick, so it might be harder to get home. They're not going to get 9 sacks like they did against Wentz, but you got to try to confuse him a little bit and make him hold the ball that 1 second longer. And I think they're going to do all that. And I think the Eagles will win somewhere along the lines of like 24-17 in this game.
All right, there you have it. He's Ed Kracz. Eagles Today over there at si.com. Make sure you check them out for all the latest and the greatest. What are you going to have over there later on today, Ed?
Well, I have a story up now on Hurts winning. These awards just keep rolling in for the Eagles. Hurts winning the Offensive Player of the Month in the NFC. Brandon Graham's second straight week, and Eagles defender has won, the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So, yeah, there'll be that. Well, I've talked to our SI writer in Jacksonville, John Shipley. Him and I have exchanged some questions, so we'll go into a deeper dive on the Jags a little bit. I'm going to try to talk to some players today that played with Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, Kayvon Wallace, and Mario Goodrich.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So,
very cool.
All the above. And, we'll have our preview, of course, our countdown to kickoff. John McMullen writes that. And, just get you guys ready for the game, right?
Yeah, man, buckle up. Always fun to have you on. I love chopping it up and breaking it down with you, Ed, and hopefully we get you on next week at some point and talk about another Eagles victory, right?
You got it, Rick. Thanks, man.